we're going to do our own show next week. It's just going to be me and Bobby.
You know, human beings learn best and most from other human beings.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Let's get to know the enemy, which Sean thinks is Brian Schottenheimer with all the shots he's been taking lately. What are you grading the Open there? C? You looked your face looked like a C.
Yeah, it was a C.
Because of the Schottenheimer clip.
That was a D. Then it got a little bit better after Brian was done talking.
I think it's a great progression. 3 American heroes: Shotty, Mr. Rogers, and then Michael Corleone.
What's Nick Harris's relationship with Shotty?
Good. I mean, everybody has a positive relationship that I know of. Like, I mean,
does Nick like him a lot?
Yeah, I think everybody likes him.
Nick Harris in studio at 8.
He is
pretty dramatic there, Nick.
Shotty is, I would imagine that's gotten better. Shotty's interesting. I don't think there are coaches around the NFL who will give you really good access to them at times. Like they will, like you can have their cell phone number and like text them stuff, and they may hit you back and may give you some insight if you've got that relationship with them. Like that exists on some beats across. That doesn't really exist here. Like Brian Schottenheimer's just kind of who he is in the press conferences, to the point that I think some of the traditional stuff you see in other markets with head coaches who maybe will have walk-offs like off the record or different things like that. I think Shotty has been so insistent on underlining I'm the same person and I'm going to share the same thoughts either way, that I think he feels like I'm telling you everything I tell you in this press conference is what I tell you behind the scenes and everything else. So there's no need for any of that. So he, in that sense, it's very much I think everybody just thinks very positive working relationship with Brian Schottenheimer as the head coach of the Cowboys. Whereas before with, Garrett or specifically McCarthy, some people would have better relationships than others would. And in some instances, they were like genuine relationships at times. Whereas with Schottenheimer, I think it's in a good way, a little bit more buffered as like, hey, we have this relationship here in the press conference, and it's just positivity and honesty. And I think that's the best way to approach it. All right, let's take a look at these Carolina Panthers, who I'm feeling pretty good about your 3.5 there.
I didn't bet it yet.
I would.
You would?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
feel better about this game. I feel better about this game than the Jets week leading up. I was dead wrong about the Jets, but I was not anticipating 5 sacks from a Cowboys defense and no explosive pass plays given up.
Do you feel,
or Ryan Flournoy?
Do you feel better about this week because of how they played against the Jets, or because of what you think the Panthers are versus what you thought the Jets were?
Both.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, because the context of how they played against the Jets, I think, helps people say like, oh, okay, they're starting to put some things together. And
I had a fear of Fields running around.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson, the Sauce going to sit there and lock up Pickens a little bit. Quinnen Williams. I can't name those same players on Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah.
The second guy I can name on Carolina is only because the Cowboys wanted to draft him, and Ted McMillan.
They've got
maybe J.C. Horn.
They've got some guys on the defensive interior who can play. Remember, Jeremy Fowler had said Dallas called up, and Carolina was like, but we don't want to give up Derek Brown. We don't want to give you Derek Brown, so we're not going to do that. Which we'll talk about Derek Brown here in just a second. He is still a really good player. A lot of this is going to focus on Bryce Young, who I like. I root for Bryce. I think
he doesn't, to me, have any physical traits of a player who is drafted number 1.
You wouldn't, eye
test wise, I'm like, that can't be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft.
Like he can sling it a little bit. Like he's got he's got the ability to whip the ball. But yeah, other than that, I mean, he's a generous 5'10", and he's very thin, and he at times a lot of those physical traits you look at and you're just like, it's somebody who just worked really hard at the quarterback position and had an arm, and somebody who was thought of as just super mature and advanced at the position all the way back in high school. Like when we hear about these Manning passing camps now and the different, sort of touring high school camps and different things that happen now, Bryce was a massive standout all the way back in high school, where people were like, this kid's different. He sees the position different. There's something here. Then he got to Alabama, and I thought at the time given where Alabama was kind of in a transition period and how they didn't really help him out with the offensive line at times, different things. I thought he played really admirably. I liked the upside of C.J. Stroud. I definitely felt like Bryce Young was the slam dunk, where I thought he was limited. Like, I didn't think he would. His potential to reach all pro level wasn't the same as Stroud. But to me, I was like, the floor will be a pretty good quarterback because that's what he's been his whole career. And he is as pro-ready a quarterback as I could remember seeing walking into the league, of just like, yeah, that's a guy who's going to come in and he's going to understand concepts and he's going to know how to operate. And then 2023 happened and he was lost. And he was playing behind a bad offensive line that really caused a lot of problems for him. And he got hit at just a ridiculous rate. And again, for that smaller frame, that panicked a lot of people around league circles, of just like, is his body going to be able to hold up to that kind of abuse that younger quarterbacks typically get? 2024, though, he started bouncing back. Last year when we were playing them in December, we talked about it, like we previewed it leading up to it. And I thought Bryce had turned a corner and was looking like a guy who could.
What is this? The Macy's soundtrack you're playing right now? I feel like yesterday.
No, it's like
when I went to North Park.
It's like it's specifically.
Turn it up. Let me hear it.
It's nice. I like it.
Ooh, it's cool cats.
Yeah, I said I put the prompt in on Suno. I said, give me like a mellow '90s East Coast hip hop beat.
Oh, you picked this.
That's generated. That's AI generated.
Okay.
That beat right there. But Bryce had turned a corner last year, and you started seeing him make some ridiculous throws. He would step up in big moments. We were starting to see clips on Twitter every week of, look at the throw Bryce made, look at where he's coming. So I thought heading into this year, right, there's a chance to really kind of salvage this and turn it around. The guy that's on tape right now looks more like the 2023 Bryce. He's not, it doesn't look that just awful statistically like it did that year, but this is a guy who right now has lost confidence again, I feel like, in some ways. He is somebody who struggles with the blitz a great deal. In 2024, he had kind of bounced back from that, and he had started throwing well against the blitz and looked comfortable standing in there and throwing it. It doesn't look the same. Pressure looks more like 2023 again. It's a zone coverage kind of week, which it is every week for the Dallas Cowboys. But Bryce Young has been really, really bad against zone coverage this year, and it's been giving him issues again that I don't know what's wrong.
So he's not like this great dissector.
He was coming out of Alabama, and he started looking like it again last year. This year, it's looking like it's taken a step back again. It's a guy who does not look comfortable throwing the ball in the middle of the field. It's a guy who does not look comfortable making his reads. I had to look it up. I was curious. The NFL, their next gen stats defines throws under 2.5 as 2.5 seconds. That's a quick throw. Anything over 4 seconds, that's a scramble or extended play. 2.5 to 4 seconds is considered in rhythm. In rhythm passes this year from Bryce Young, he is the lowest rated quarterback in the NFL.
Wow.
He is having, I think it was, the numbers were all 4 of his interceptions, I believe, have come during in rhythm throws, and he has no touchdowns. So, like, all of his touchdowns have been in the quick throw variety or ones that have been extended. So, he doesn't look comfortable right now. He has had a lot of issues with cover 2 and cover 3, which are the two most common concepts the Cowboys are running right now when they know what they're doing and standing in the right place. But it is there's 34 qualified quarterbacks who have thrown against cover 2, cover 3 this year, those concepts. He is 31st out of 34 qualifying quarterbacks in passer ratings against cover 2 and cover 3, which are very, again, basic concepts. He and Tet McMillan are starting to develop some good chemistry. Where it hasn't clicked for them yet is down the field. So you've seen a couple different instances of Bryce tries to attack down the field with Tet McMillan. They're not clicking there yet. That has not synced up to this point, which deep ball, as Shoddy talked about with George Pickens and some others earlier this year, that's usually the last thing to come around.
And I've heard some positive reviews about Tet starting off.
Tet's played well. And he and Bryce, there's a comfort there. Bryce clearly has some trust with him and is realizing pretty quickly, all right, I can get the ball to him and feel comfortable about it. But again, middle of the field stuff, trying to read these zone concepts, there's a lot about this. It's not Russell Wilson dropping back and playing quarterback for as long as he has, just could tell instantly where the ball needed to go against Dallas. Like, oh, yep, throw the ball down here. It was a veteran who could play in rhythm and play comfortably attacking those concepts. Bryce is at a point right now where he's not taking advantage of looks like that. And he seems confused by things. And I don't know what's happened with him. I don't know if it's that he doesn't trust his offensive line. We heard it yesterday from David Newton that they are not blocking as well as everybody anticipated. They thought that the offensive line was going to be more of a strength. Ike Ekwonu, who was a really high draft pick for them at tackle, he's been, to me, I looked it up. I was like, PFF has to have him graded really horribly. They don't. He's like a 62 or something, which is a little above average. That's somebody to me that looks as lost as at times Guyton has in pass protection. And he's a few years into this now. So I think that you could have some success on the edges. Taylor Moton's a little bit more stable, but he's given up some pressures this year. He's missed practice the first two practices this week with an elbow injury. So there's a question about whether Moton will even play in this game. But
David Newton from Carolina yesterday, Insider, said he thought offensive line was going to be their strength going in.
Yeah, and then that's something that right now
to the season.
Still, their run blocking has looked good. Like I mean, it's kind of what you're dealing with Guyton. The pass protection stuff doesn't always look good. They're a good run blocking unit. Rico looks like the guy we saw in the second half of last year. That's what he looked like against Miami. He's somebody who I still think...
Are they going to ram it down our throats as long as the score allows? They have a question of whether Hubbard's going to play.
Yeah, and he missed practice yesterday too.
Start Rico on fantasy.
I wonder if it'll get like the Jets game, where the Jets could have just run the ball every single play probably and scored every time last week. But they didn't, and they tried to take advantage of some things, and they weren't able to. And so I wonder how long that's going to be able to operate if Dallas is able to score on them too, if they feel like they have to catch up a little bit. This is a team that, like Dallas on the defensive side of the ball, like the Cowboys, they play the same rate of zone coverage as the Cowboys do. They are way up near the top of the NFL in zone coverage rates. They play at 87% of the time. Dallas plays at 89%. So they're similar to the Cowboys in terms of how frequently they give that look.
And if someone was going to play 90% zone against Dak or 90% man, what would you pick?
I like Dak against zone coverage because I know where Dak's at in this stage of his career to where he just can kind of dissect and know where to go with the ball. Man coverage is good if your guys are winning, like if they're winning their matchups. But zone coverage, I feel comfortable with him kind of picking it apart. Specifically, cover 3, and cover 3 is what the Panthers play primarily. Your mark this week is Mike Jackson. He is a former Cowboy draft pick, but he's the one that is.
When was he drafted?
20.
Oh, Mike Jackson. Yep.
Yeah, the Miami corner. Yeah, and so he's the one that has given them the most problems in coverage. And so J.C. Horn has been decent. I don't think he's been locked down. He hasn't been fantastic. But Mike Jackson's the one who I think you can pick on a little bit if you wanted to do that. Running the ball is going to be, I would anticipate, although they've surprised me a couple different times, I would anticipate that's going to be a little more difficult for you this week than it was against the Jets. The defensive line is not bad. Derek Brown's on the interior. Ashawn Robinson is in there, and they both have been really good against the run. That's a good defensive line unit with DJ Wanham, Robinson, Brown. They've got Nick Scorton, the second-round pick out of Texas A&M. Scorton has been a better player out of the gate than I anticipated. They've kind of done some stuff with him that I think they've figured out a way to make him effective right out of the gate. But it's a good run defense unit in the front four to me. And then the last guy I'll touch on, because I was a big fan of his coming out, and again, it's a local guy, TCU. Trayvon Merrick's been good for them at safety. That's a guy that I would have been interested in Dallas investigating when he was a free agent recently. They didn't. That was somebody that I think they would have picked in 2021 or whatever year that was when they picked Kelvin Joseph. If Kelvin Joseph hadn't been there and they were desperate for a corner, I think they would have taken Merrick. But Merrick's done a good job for them at safety, and he's somebody who is really flexible to do a number of different things in coverage, come up and run support. He's had kind of a resurgence in Carolina, and so I think he's been good this year. But This is a game that I think Dallas overall matches up really, really well. Even some of the stuff they do on defense that has been frustrating for Cowboys fans, it fits well with some of the things that Carolina struggles with. So I do think that this is going to be a game that Dallas has a pretty decent matchup fit for.